Hello, everybody. How have you been? It's been a while since I've shown up here. That beard's grown a bit longer. Life got in the way. I got busy and couldn't shoot and upload. But never mind, here's the next video on my driving license conversion series. Today I'll talk about my own drive test, and unlike the driving test that I had done back in India, back in the days, which was a cakewalk, I really had to earn this one. So hopefully it makes for an interesting story. Here goes. I did prepare very well for all the tests in the licensing process. If you've been watching my previous videos, I did mention some tips and strategies to tackling all the tests. As they say, practice what you preach. In this case, I wasn't preaching anything that I did not practice. I did follow everything that I had mentioned in the preparation strategies. For my drive test, I went through the drive test checklist, the drive test page on the Vic Roads website, and the drive test criteria PDF file. I'd also taken 6 driving lessons, each 1 hour long, rented a car from Avis and drove the Great Ocean Road and back, and also tried to learn my test routes well. I walked and walked and walked and walked some more. I did all this because it was important to me that I got a license at the earliest, and also because I did not want to fail. A failed driving test would have been a big jolt to my ego, as I was someone who really took pride in my driving abilities. And I got through all the other tests in the first go, so I did not want to fail the drive test. Yeah, I was a bit of an arrogant bastard. Anyway, all these thoughts led me to get all nervous and worked up for my test. There was hundred things that I was worried about, and I thought I could possibly go wrong. What if my driving instructor forgot about my test and did not show up? What if he gets late? What if one of the indicators or lights on the car do not work for the pre-drive check? Will the test officer say the car is not clean and ready for the test? And then, of course, will I miss a head check or mirror check? Will I not see a cyclist or traffic lights? Will I exceed the speed limit? And so on and so forth. Sitting here and now looking back at it, it was all really a bit too counterintuitive. The more nervous you get, the more the chances of you missing things and making mistakes. One more thing that got me really nervous was that I would have to relocate to Sydney very soon. So time was running out before I could keep a Victorian mailing address to get a Victorian driving license sent to me. If I did not make it, I would probably have to move to NSW and start all over again. So overall, I was in a bad place going to the test. And yes, I botched it. Fail. Into the details. My driving instructor did not forget his appointment, although he was about 10 minutes late on the day. We went for a final warm-up session and on some of the likely test routes, and then headed straight into the Vic Roads Carlton Center for my test. The paperwork was sorted, and we got to the pre-drive check. The LTO assigned to me was a nice friendly man. The pre-drive check went all right, and we moved into stage 1 of the test. Moved out of the parking bay, got to the road, and then there was a pedestrian waiting at a pedestrian crossing, and I thought I did well, stopping and waving her through. There were a few lane changes asked of me, and I followed proper protocol. Then came an intersection, and I was asked to turn left. Here's a short video clip of my Waterloo. So this was a situation. I first had to change lanes before I could turn left. So from the center lane to the left lane. Now, the traffic signal at the center of the road, which cannot be seen on the video clip, had a red light on. So I focused on changing my lane, moved into the leftmost lane, and waited for a green. But silly me did not see that the lights on the left corner of the street had a green left arrow, and I should have gone without waiting. That itself was a critical error, but it wasn't the end of the world. I could have made it if I drove well from there on. However, what I did next sealed the deal for me. As the green arrow changed to amber, I noticed it. In fact, that was when I saw those lights exist as I was going by the other lights on the center of the street. I thought the amber arrow was soon going to go green, and I started moving. And bang! My instructor had to step on the brakes. There was an alarm that went off, and that was that. My instructor did make an attempt to convince the LTO, but we all knew it was futile. Immediate termination error. I was then asked to drive to a lonely street and told to park up and swap seats with the instructor. We then went straight back to the Vic Roads office and went to book a retest. What was more depressing was that the next available date was almost a month later. I would have to live in my misery for an entire month. And the dates for my move to Sydney was also looming, but there was little I could do to help things at that point. I guess the only thing I did well that day was that I directed my anger very well. There was nobody else to blame, not my instructor, not the testing officer, not the system. I was angry at myself, and my ego was hurt. People who have been driving for long, such a fail is definitely going to stick with you. It'll be tough to sleep that night because you're thinking what you could have done, what you could have done differently. Probably one of the toughest losses I've had. A lot of guys would be the same. But you win some, you lose some. I know this is a tough one to cope, but relax, you're going to be right. My next video would be a happier one about my retest and how I finally nailed it. So watch out for that one. I hope your first driving test went better than mine. Looking at the positive, failing a test is giving me a lot more content to share here. Although it did set me back by a few $100s. Anyway, it is what it is. See you on the next one. Take it easy, guys. Over and out.